Thank you, Ryan. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Namaco Unitarian Universalist congregation. My name is Laurel Liefert, and I serve as the minister of this congregation. And here's how we describe ourselves. We are a Unitarian Universalist congregation, a congregation of open minds, loving hearts, helping hands, gutsy creativity, and feet that walk our talk. Well, I think the snow has made us a little bit of a smaller crowd. Last week was our first time being in person for a while, so we had kind of an ecstatic crowd. And I know that we have some visitors today, so if you want to just raise your hands and we'll give you a warm welcome. All right. Well, you know what we UUs say is, whoever you are, whomever you love, whether you come today with joy in your heart or tears, you are welcome here. So thank you for being here. We have our dynamite team upstairs, the Suryanis. So thank you, Don and Sarah. We have a hybrid service, so there are some people who are with us on Zoom. And then we have Ryan, our first ever music director, providing music. And we have a guest today. This is Chris Buice. And you'll know when he starts talking that he's not from around here. In fact, he is from Tennessee Valley UU congregation in Tennessee. So welcome, Chris. Thank you for being here. And I think with no further ado, Chris, let's light the chalice. These words come from Rebecca Parker. Choose to bless the world.
The choice to bless the world is more than an act of will, a moving forward into the world with the intention to do good. It is an act of recognition, a confession of surprise, a grateful acknowledgement that in the midst of a broken world, unspeakable beauty, grace, and mystery abide.
None of us alone can save the world. Together, that is another possibility waiting. Come, let us worship together. And in your order of service is the congregational affirmation that we say in unison out loud every Sunday. Zoomers, you're welcome to say it. Well, no, actually, leave your mics muted if you would. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its call. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And our opening song is in the gray hymnal. It is number 1, May Nothing Evil Cross This Door. If you want to stand as you are willing and able, and we'll sing all 4 verses.
I'm going to tell a traditional folk tale.
Oh, after that.
Oh, sorry.
No.
Excuse me.
No, I'm the one who screwed up. I often do this.
Yeah.
So actually, I forgot. We're just in the middle of our pledge drive.
Yeah.
Trying to earn
Not
enough
in here.
money to keep the doors open.
Yep.
So we have co-chairs, Rebecca Williamson and Norma Fox. And Kathy Hartman was going to give a testimonial today, but she's unable to come. And so let me invite you, Rebecca. Okay, we'll grab a mic.
So, Sarah, would you show the first slide here? Okay, this is where we stand right now. 36 pledges, $82,000, and we still have some plucky ducks up there waiting to take the plucky duck pledge plunge.
And what's your theme this year?
So 36 pledges. Here, where do we stand? Together or apart? There are approximately 107 pledging units. We have turned in 36 pledge forms. That can't be right. Only 36 out of 107. You can fill in the blanks. As Dad might say in the 60s, don't make me stop this pledge drive. And then the last one.
Thank you, Rebecca. Now.
Okay. So I think the definition of a folk tale is a story that's not true, but it has truth in it. And there's a story about 3 shamans that gathered together from 3 different tribes. One was from the Apache tribe, one was from the Navajo tribe, and one was from the Hopi tribe. And they gathered to learn from each other. And they met on a mesa in the middle of the desert to talk about what life was like in their different tribes. And the first one to speak was someone from the shaman from the Apache tribe, who said, in our tribe, whenever someone is sick and hasn't been feeling well for some time, we put that person in the center of our village, and everyone gathers around and somebody starts playing the drums. So you can help me with this. And we dance and we dance and we dance. And we call this dance the healing dance. You can stop. We call this dance the healing dance. And the others said, wow, that's wonderful. That's powerful. Does it work? He said, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So the Navajo said, that reminds me of something we do in our tribe. Whenever it hasn't been raining for a long time, and we're worried about the crops and the food will not come up, we gather in the village in a circle and we all start playing the drums. We dance and we dance and we dance, and we call this dance the rain dance. And the other said, that's wonderful, that's marvelous. Does it work? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Finally, the Hopi says, well, that reminds me of something that we do in my village. Every morning when it's still dark, we gather around in a circle and somebody starts playing the drums. We dance, we dance, we dance until the sun comes over the horizon, turning darkness into light and painting the sky with colors. And we call this dance the sunrise dance. And you know the best thing about it? It works every time. And that's our story.
Thank you, Chris. Here comes Ocean. My little guy. Hi. Here at Namaqua, we have retained a tradition of actually setting aside time every Sunday to share our joys and sorrows. And as I did last week, and as we have done before, we have not only candles that represent the joys and sorrows within. And we'll have an opportunity to share those in just a few minutes. But the world right now is really painful. And so part of our job, I think, is to keep hope alive and to keep in mind the balance that even though there's a war, I think, that is worrying all of us, and we'll do some more weighty work on sharing that burden a little bit later, but there's always joy. So, I mean, it's a joy to see you all here today. And the snow looks beautiful when it's coming down. And people are falling in love. Maybe one of you fell in love lately. Or I have a little dog that brings me joy. And so even though we have concerns for the world, let's just keep our perspective and remember that we can choose also to look at and to embrace the joy that is everywhere. So what we do is first ask if anyone has any birthdays or anniversaries. If so, maybe raise your hand. Yes, Katie?
I turned 40 on Wednesday.
Whoa. Well, Ryan, maybe you could play happy birthday. And where's the tiara when we need it? Well, we'll have to owe it to you, Katie. So Katie is the one that we're going to sing happy birthday to. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Katie. Happy birthday to you. Wow. I think you were 29 when I first met you. Sheesh. So what we do here is based on the history of sometimes, in fact, all the time, until we bought this building, being in a place where we can light candles, we have retained this tradition of transferring a stone from one bowl to the next. So Katie, I did it for you. Happy birthday. Does anyone else have an anniversary? Are you Ryan? Oh, but you have a joy or sorrow? Well, okay, well, why don't you share that? So that is a joy. Thank you, Ryan. So if anyone else has a joy or sorrow and you'd actually like, Tracy, do you want to come up? So say your name and then you speak into this microphone like a ice cream cone. Come on, Jesse.
Good morning, everybody.
I think it's on, right, Don? So go ahead and speak into it.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Tracy Jones, and some of you may know I have a disease called Tracheobronchomalasia, and basically what that means is my trachea just collapses and closes off my airway. Some of you also may know that last July I went to Boston to have it reconstructed, and it was a successful surgery, and I was able to have my tracheostomy removed when I came home. But this past week, I woke up on Tuesday and I couldn't breathe, and the ambulance had to come get me. And I spent most of the week in ICU, and my trachea is collapsing again, and I will have to go back to Boston. I have a stricture and stenosis in the bottom of my trachea. So I'm here today, and that is a joy. And I am very happy to be here, and I'm very grateful for the transportation I got to get here. And I'm very glad to see all of you. So thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. So I have a practice of putting names on my altar of people who I'm lighting a candle and praying for every morning. And so Tracy, I will put yours back on my altar. Do you want me to bring the mic down?
Hi, my name is Mim, and my joy was yesterday. I got to meet my mystery pal, and everybody else got to meet theirs, and it was a wonderful, joyous, and delicious occasion.
Thank you. I heard about that. So our director of religious education has been heroic these last couple of years, keeping activities for families. And so yesterday Ocean. He does. Oh, ma'am. Ocean. Well, he could come up. Come on. Boy, Mim, are you popular? That is so sweet. Ocean, come on up. Hi, little guy. So this is Mim. You are Mim. She is the real deal. Well, there's a joy for you right there. Well, I'm going to put a couple in for that. Right, Caitlin. Well, does anyone else want to share something? Sue?
Hi, I'm Sue, and I have joys and sorrows, I guess. So I have a joy too, just like Mim. We had such a nice day yesterday. Where is my mystery pal? Well, I have a mystery pal too, and I'm really excited to get to know Mael, and we are going to be best friends. And I hope that lasts forever and ever. And my sorrow, of course, is Ukraine, and what they're going through. I can't even abide the pictures.
Mhm.
So I just have to do something. So here's what we do. Not that we're going to stop the war, but to help people. I love on social media, I'm seeing that people are renting Airbnbs in these cities with no intention of going, but the owners get the money. So that's a good way to actually get the money in their hands. Another way is I try to go online and donate money to the Ukrainian Red Cross. And I went through the whole thing with the website. And then when I went to submit, it wouldn't take it. And I'm thinking maybe it's because a whole lot of people are doing it.
Could be.
I'm hoping that's what's going on. So if you feel in your heart to do something like that, that's a really good organization. And I did finally get through to Doctors Without Borders and donated to that.
Yeah, I did that.
So, as you use, we walk our talk. And I think that we all have to feel like we're doing something to help this poor, horrible country that's going through this. So anyway, that's my sort of joy about that sorrow.
Okay,
don't know.
I'm going to put in a lot.
Yeah.
So usually we do things that are in our personal lives, but I think what's happening in Ukraine is just so horrific that it touches each of us personally.
Also meditation. I think group meditation and focus and intention is really as a personal.
So group meditation, so sending out energy, and may all be well, may all be safe. Yeah. So anybody else here in our sanctuary who would like to share a joy or sorrow? Caitlin, the mother of little Ocean.
Yes, I'll just sit right here. I think. Oh, hold on.
Whoops.
Sorry. Yes, hello everyone. I actually have a sorrow and a joy about my grandpa, who on Thursday, he's 78 years old, and he was putting up drywall by himself. And you know how this story is going to go, right? But unfortunately, he had a heart attack and fell. He hit his head really badly and broke his ankle, pulled himself up the basement stairs using a broom handle, called for help. And they're continuing to run some tests about what happened to create that heart failure, but he's stable and they have every reason to believe that he'll recover fully. So yeah.
No more drywalling for him.
No more drywall. No more drywall.
Thank you, Caitlin. So anyone else here? Yes.
Hi, I'm Jessie, and I was raised UU in Michigan, and my friend Annika has just moved here from, well, she's been traveling around for a while now, And I'm just joyful to be back in a congregation. I don't get to come to church very often for many reasons, but I'm just really happy to bring her here and introduce her to you. And I think
Oh.
it'll be a beautiful union for all parties. So I'm very happy. And she's having me and my boyfriend stay at her place for a while right now while we're waiting for an apartment to open up in Westminster. So I'm just happy to
All
be
right.
here and to, yeah, meet you all and bring Monica. So thank you for welcoming us.
Thank you. Welcome. So do you live in Loveland now? Okay, well, I hope to see you again. Anybody else? And yes, Shirley.
My joy is just to be here. This is a wonderful day. Yesterday, we attended by streaming a Catholic mass for my daughter-in-law's mother who recently died. And it was a beautiful service and I think very helpful to her. But she's really having a hard time accepting her mother's passing. So I would ask you to keep her in your mind and heart. Her name is Callie.
Callie, thank you. And Claire will read any of you on Zoom who have joys and sorrows to share.
From Zoom, Brenda Christensen turns 45 on Friday.
Wow.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to dear Brenda.
Karen Massaro says, I'm asking for lots of good vibes. I'm on oxygen full time. Did see a pulmonologist this week running lots of tests, just hoping he will be able to determine what is wrong. This has been going on since October.
Yeah. Hope you get to the bottom of it, Karen.
And Catherine Stacy says, Joy is my daughter and her boyfriend finally found an apartment in Fort Collins. Concern is my father-in-law's new wife who was diagnosed with ALS last month.
Oh. Okay, Catherine. And I will put in a few more to represent the joys and sorrows in this group and with us on Zoom. And Claire has a special component today to joys and sorrows.
Two pieces. The first one is a joy that I want to share. At the decade service, I was coming in feeling very fresh from this experience I told you about being in the prison. We've been working on the show at Territorial Correctional for over a year, and we filmed most of it in the area that was death row, where the state of Colorado murdered 77 people. And we filmed this project there. We filmed the last component of it. And last Sunday, I got a letter that was scanned from one of the guys that was in the project. And he said, this day is still living in me. It's touched me so deeply. I can't wait to be able to see what this project is, what the film looks like. What would you think about turning death row into an art studio? And he said, thanks for thinking about it. So we just sent it off to the executive team for the state of Colorado that afternoon and got a response immediately, yes.
Isn't that
do it.
incredible? Whoa.
I recall sharing at that decade service that when we were up there and the guys played I Shall Be Released, this band of guys who are incarcerated, many of whom have life without parole, played I Shall Be Released there, and it felt like an exorcism, and this felt like the next step of that exorcism. So I was so excited to share that with you all.
Yes.
And the second piece is holding close Ukraine and everything there. And so Laurel and I were talking this week about a way to think about holding that and what does that mean? And as you see, we have a tradition of passing a stone from one jar to the next, but sometimes stones in the world are way bigger than those. And it takes a lot of people to hold them. And there's this line from the musical Matilda that I really love. They say, when I grow up, I'll be strong enough to carry all the heavy things I have to haul around when you're a grown up. But we don't have to carry those things alone. And so as we sing, There Is More Love Somewhere, we'd love to invite you to take one of these stones and to just feel the weight of it and then pass it on to someone next to you. And as you do, I invite you to think of the way that we hold this weight alone and the way that all of us together holding it makes it much lighter. Reaching up into the sky for all the joys and sorrows that are outside of our reach, to reach beside you, to touch the person next to you, for all the joys and sorrows that are here, and to reach around yourself with a hug for the joy and the sorrow that we each contain. May it be so.
Thank you, Claire. You know how we walk our talk? Well, one of the ways we do this is through being generous to those organizations within our community that embody the same values that we have. So this quarter, it is the Loveland Community Kitchen. I don't know if some of you read in the local newspaper that a couple of Fridays ago, we had a team who came and helped serve the meals to the 100 or so people that are food insecure in Loveland. But tragically, there was someone who was found in the parking lot who was unresponsive. And Linda Danforth is the one who organizes our teams to go there. And she said that it is particularly tragic to find someone who died like that outside a door of help. So please be generous. And ushers, if you'll come forward. So if you please repeat after me to bless our offering. We dedicate ourselves, and these are offerings, to the vision of this congregation, which is to radiate love, peace, and justice. As together we work to grow, beloved community. Thank you. Thanks, Glenn.
Harrison Keeler said that Coca-Cola used to have cocaine in it, and that's why Georgians speak the way they do. And I say that by way of introducing myself, that I grew up in Georgia, but I now live in East Tennessee. So I bring you greetings from the Smoky Mountains to the Rocky Mountains.
All
It's
right.
a pleasure to be here. When I was in 6th grade in Georgia, I was told that the next year I would get to do a report on a state, and that I would be able to, compile this big notebook of information about the state. And our family did a vacation in Colorado. And so I collected all this information about Colorado and was ready to pull it together for a report. And then I got to the next grade and I was assigned Connecticut. So you can take it as a great compliment that I'm here in Colorado this morning and not Connecticut. So it may seem odd, but I want to begin by telling a Jewish story that I think illuminates what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist. There's a story about a new rabbi. She comes to her congregation and she's leading her first service. And it gets to the point where the congregation says the words of the Shema. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. But some people stand up to say these words, and other people remain seated, and the people who are standing say, stand up. And the people who are sitting say, sit down, and an argument breaks out in the middle of this first service she's leading. And somehow she manages to muddle through, but she realizes she needs to find out what is the tradition in this synagogue. What's the tradition? And so she decides to go talk to the oldest member of the synagogue, who happens to be in a retirement home. And she goes to visit that retirement home, and after some preliminary conversations, she says, is it the tradition in the congregation when we say those words to stand up? And the elder says, no, that's not the tradition. He says, well, is it a tradition for us to sit down when we say those words? He said, no, that's not the tradition. And she said, tell me one way or another, because now some people stand and some people sit and they start arguing with each other. And the elder said, that's the tradition.
Yep.
So in the Unitarian Universalist Church, we also have a tradition of having differences, different points of view, looking at things differently. And yet underneath all those differences, we have common values. Underneath all that diversity, we have unity. In the back of our gray hymnal, there's words that you can find that we speak to our tradition, but also you can find them in a prayer book in a synagogue. And those words are, help us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse. These words remind us that one of the things that we have in common is we all get hurt. We all get hurt. And one of the things we have in common is we all need to heal. We all need to heal. There's a very old Jewish proverb. I first learned it as a kid in Sunday school, hearing a story about Jesus where he uses it. Physician, heal thyself. But it's older than that. It's much older than that. And today I want to talk about what we can do as a religious community to help heal ourselves, Now, whenever I hear that proverb, physician, heal thyself, I'm mindful of a tradition among many different indigenous people in North America, many Native American tribes or First Nations, and it's the medicine way. It's a common teaching that you find in many different tribes. And behind it all is an invitation for all of us to reflect on every thought, every word, or every deed, and ask ourselves the question, is this good medicine? Mm-hmm. Every thought and word and deed is medicine. So we can ask, is this good medicine or is this bad medicine? Now, where I'm from in East Tennessee, we're not too far from the eastern band of the Cherokees. And they're very well known for finding the medicinal quality of different plants. And so feverwort is something that can be used to reduce fevers, and partridge berry is something that can help pregnant women in childbirth, help ease that transition, and arnica can help strained muscles, and geranium can help mouth ulcers. And you can go through a list of different kinds of plants and their medicinal value. But similarly, all our words, all our thoughts, all our deeds, they have a medicinal quality. It's about tapping into the miracles that work every time. The miracles that work every time, abundant in nature. Now, the way we live our lives is our medicine. And we either consciously or unconsciously, we are either promoting healing or inflicting harm. We are either promoting peace and harmony or sowing discord. Consciously or unconsciously, we're practicing medicine. All of us are practicing medicine. Now, there's a tradition among the Cherokee, and I think about it every time I'm walking through one of the green forests in the Smokies, but you can think about it in the aspen. Walking among the aspens is the Cherokee say the trees are wiser than us, and that's why they remain silent. The trees are wiser than us. That's why they remain silent. So there's good medicine in quiet. There's good medicine in stillness. It's not all about words. Although words have power to heal or to harm. Many years ago, we have a rummage sale which just takes over the whole church building and the outside, and people bring in rummage, and we have all sorts. Every year I look for the weirdest thing, and one year I found a puppet that was it was called the boxing rabbi. So you make the rabbi box. He had boxing gloves, and I swear 2 years later I found the boxing nun. So there, the boxing nun and the boxing rabbi are both on my shelf in my office. But one year really stands out. There was a metallic container, nothing fancy about it. And on top of it had a label. Somebody had made the label by hand, and the label said Shakespearean Insults. And so I opened up the cylinder, and sure enough, that's what was inside, Shakespearean Insults. And speaking to the power of words, here are some of those words, and you can see if they have power to heal or to harm. You heedless joltheads, you whoresome indistinguishable cur, you dissembling harlot, you incontinent varlet. Thou art a boil, a plague sore, an embosomed carbuncle on my corrupted blood. How foul and loathsome is thine image. You are an irksome, brawling scold, a pox, a muddy rascal, a gross lout, a poisonous bunchback toad. There was a whole lot more in there. I'm just giving you a sampling. There's something powerful about those words. They just sound insulting. I don't even know what most of them mean. You know, they just have that sound to them. And there's something, powerful about listening to them and saying them, but I don't recommend you put them into any one of your emails when you're sending an email to someone you care about. And I don't recommend that you use them in any committee meeting when you're trying to advance the work of the congregation and move the mission of the church forward. On stage, they're entertainment. And good entertainment can be good medicine. But when we bring them into our more intimate relationships, our marriages, our families, our partnerships, our congregations, it can be very, very bad medicine. It can be very bad medicine. We need language that heals and doesn't harm, that helps and doesn't hinder, to bless and not to curse. We need good medicine. Now, thinking about spirituality as medicine is countercultural in Western, like European Western tradition. Often Western religions are religions of the book, the Torah, the Christian scriptures, the Quran. However, in mystical traditions like Sufism, the mystical traditions that can be found in different religious traditions, including religions of the book, religion or spirituality is more like music. And so Rumi speaks about feeling like a flute, an instrument through which the spirit blows. And someone in the room might feel more like a saxophone. And someone else might feel like a trombone or a tuba or a harmonica. But the sense that who we are shapes the kind of music we make, shapes what comes when the spirit blows through us. And music is good medicine. Good music is good medicine. One of the most famous musicians that all of us know is Elvis Presley. And you may know that when he appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show in 1956, they would only film him from the waist up because they just knew that his gyrating hips would drive women wild, and they didn't want that to happen. What you may not know is for similar reasons, this church has installed this pulpit. That's right. Because traditionally, there's a lot of distrust of the body in Western. There's a lot of division, body, spirit. There's a lot of distrust of the body, but we're called to wholeness, to gutsy creativity. We're called to gutsy creativity. We're called to healing and wholeness and oneness. Our bodies are instruments. Our heart has a beat. Our wrist has a pulse. Our circulatory system has a rhythm. Our nervous system responds to vibrations. Our voices are wind instruments. And most of these processes, they're deeper than reason. They're deeper than thinking. We don't have to think about it for our hearts to beat. We don't have to think about it to breathe. It's about being in touch with that wisdom that is deeper than just our rationality. Now, I studied for the Unitarian Universalist ministry at a Quaker theology school. And one of the themes in Quakerism is the idea that each one of us has an inward teacher, a still small voice, a divine spark within us. That's what early 19th century Unitarians and Universalists often spoke of, a divine spark within us, a holy light that shines in every one of us. So it's the job of any outward teacher, any person outside of ourselves, to redirect us toward the inward teacher, the wisdom within us. Now, similarly, there's this idea of an inward physician that I learned about when I was living in Spartanburg. And there was a chiropractic school there, and there was some members of the church who either taught there or were students there. And I had a friend who I called the outlaw chiropractor because she had all these theories, and you never knew when they were official chiropractor, thoughts or her own thoughts. But one of the things she would sort of reiterate is this idea that the mind and the body are separate is an illusion, that the mind is spread through the body. It permeates the body through the nervous system. So it's oneness. It's not two things, it's oneness. And knowing, it's like the African-American spiritual tells us, the head bone is connected to the neck bone. The neck bone is connected to the backbone. The backbone is connected to the thigh bone. The thigh bone is connected to the knee bone. The knee bone is connected to the leg bone. The leg bone is connected to the foot bone. Oh, hear the word of the Lord. That's an old spiritual. Now, knowing these lyrics won't help you pass physiology class or get you through medical school, but it does remind us all of our oneness, the way things are always connected. The other thing I learned from my outlaw chiropractor friend is how the body knows how to heal itself. And so when we are practicing medicine, when they're outward healers, the point is to give the body what it needs to heal itself. The healing process is within us. So we give the body what it needs and then say to the body, physician, heal thyself. Physician, heal thyself. Now, the older I get, and maybe others in the room can appreciate, the more I get, the more I realize my personal health is affected by all my choices, my thoughts, my words, and my deeds. When we get angry at someone, it can raise our blood pressure. And when we refuse to forgive, it can increase our heart rate. And when we get in a disagreement with someone and it gets ugly, it can raise our stress hormones and increase our muscle tension. And if we're not carefully, we can unconsciously activate those fight or flight impulses, which are meant for quick situations to get you out of danger. But if you stay in that state for too long, then it has really harmful physiological consequences. It can undermine your cardiovascular health, weaken our immune systems, and make us more susceptible to diseases. And Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous and other recovery programs, they have a saying. It's refusing to forgive someone is like drinking rat poison, hoping to kill a rat. And so similarly, in many other situations, we should ask ourselves, is the action we're about to take, is it good medicine? Is it good medicine or is it bad medicine? Now, in the Unitarian Universalist Church, disagreement is part of the tradition. It is. We sometimes disagree on what the meaning of different words like God or spirit or soul, or I'm sure there's a word here that there's been a conversation around. In my church, we like to disagree about what's better, the gray hymnal or the teal hymnal. That's a tradition. And the practice of joys and concerns is, people have strong feelings one way or the other about that. So it's a tradition to disagree. But the question is, how are we going to be in relationship to each other as we disagree? The Buddha taught the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, and those are often referred to as medicine, not religious teachings, but medicine. And Buddhism is in many ways more like a treatment plan than it is a religion. And one of the things the Buddhists said was that when we argue about abstract metaphysical concepts, then we're like the man who's been shot by an arrow. And we look at the arrow and say, before I remove this arrow, I need to know the name of the tree that produced the wood that made the shaft of this arrow. Or I need to know the name of the bird that gave the feather that is a part of this arrow. Or I need to know where the mine is, where they found the minerals that made the sharp point of this arrow. So when we disagree about metaphysics, we sometimes forget the point is to remove the arrow. The point is to remove the arrow and to begin healing the wounds. Now I know we're all affected by what's happening in the Ukraine. In ministry this week, one of the things I did is help somebody get out of Russia, somebody who grew up in our church, and I was helping her find a place to land in Helsinki, and I saw on Facebook right before I left that she got to Helsinki safely. But that situation reminds me how quickly a disagreement, a political disagreement, can turn into trauma and horror and bloodshed. And so we as a church, we as a religious community are invited to think of a different way to disagree with each other. How can we find harmony with each other, even in the midst of disagreement? Because one of the things we have in common is every one of us can get hurt. And every one of us needs to heal. So we need to work together to make our congregations places of healing, places of wholeness, places of oneness. And that work is shared ministry, shared ministry. Now, a few years ago, I was in Boulder, Colorado, which is not like any other city I've been in. And I was walking down the street and I thought, this is a great city to buy a Hindu god or goddess, because it seemed like there were a whole bunch of different Hindu gods and goddesses in every store, and you could comparison shop. You didn't have to go to the first store and get the first one, you know. Lakshmi, Ganesha, Durga, Krishna. And one of the images from Hindu gods is that I really resonate with is the ones with lots of arms, and sometimes lots of ears and lots of eyes, because it reminds me of something Saint Teresa said. God has no hands but our hands. Can I see some hands? No hands but our hands to do the work of healing. No eyes but our eyes to see what must be done. No feet but our feet with which to walk about doing good. And I would add, no ears but our ears to listen to each other's story. Because when we listen to each other, we practice good medicine. We can have shared ministry. We can together practice good medicine. And when we do it, people may come to our church and look at us and say, look, they disagree, but they disagree with mutual respect. They disagree with compassion. They disagree with kindness. And when people ask us, how is that possible? How can you do that? We can simply say, that's the tradition.
Amen. Thank you, Chris. Well, our closing song is number 395, Wake Now My Senses. So please rise as you're willing or able. extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Prophetic Church, the world awaits your liberating ministry. Go forward in the power of love, proclaim the truth that makes us free, and practice good medicine.
All right. So I do have a few announcements, and then I want you to stand again so you can sit if you want for the announcements. Because there are quite a few. Boy, things are buzzing here at Namakwa. So for one thing, we have a lot of adult religious education or adult enrichment classes. And so one of them that is going to start next Saturday is that ever popular Facing Life with Death class. And we still have a few more slots that are open with that. It's going to be every other week, Saturday morning from 9 to 11. And then in the meantime, we have our Building Your Own Theology class, our meditation group, our social sisterhood, our UU writers, and lots of other good stuff. Ocean just loves Mim. The Ukraine rally that we were going to have tomorrow night, it has been postponed. So stay tuned. What we want to do is have a little bit more time to plan. It probably will be an interfaith event, maybe at some of our traditional public venues like at Foot Lagoon. The Mystery Pals, somebody mentioned, are you going to be a Mystery Pal? No?
Pretty clear about that.
And also, if any of you play ukulele, we had a really good time yesterday getting ready for our debut, which is going to be on April 10th. We're going to have a service where Ryan unfortunately can't be here, but that creates an opportunity for the ukes to play. And also, next week, we're going to have a Pathways to Membership class. And so we're hoping that a lot of people are going to want to join us. And on April 10th, then, we're going to stand up here and make a covenant between the new members and the congregation. Yeah, it's really special. And so also, did you know that Namakwa was going to have an interim minister? Because I'm going to be retiring at the end of this year. And so it is on March 27th. After the service, we're going to have an hour of Sarah Millspaugh telling us about what to expect with interim ministry. So my final little pitch is that it has been so wonderful to have hybrid services. So thanks to Don and Sarah and Bill Rosequist, we have the capacity to not only enjoy being physically together, which I can see in your faces is truly a joy, but also for those of you on Zoom, you're with us. And I'm so glad that we are able to accommodate people who, for whatever reason, can't make it physically here. The thing is, we have kind of a need for more tech people. So if any of you are willing to be trained on how to do what Sarah and Don are doing, I know that's a dog named Jessie. We need your help because otherwise, if we can't get enough tech help, we might end up having to do either just in-person services or maybe just Zoom services. So I'm serious, if any of you are willing to learn, it's not rocket science. So I would say maybe see me or Dawn up there or Sarah, or just email one of us who are in a leadership position and we will give you the training that we need so that we can continue. The reason I stayed one more year is because of this. I wanted us to all be physically present with each other, to be able to give hugs at the end of our time, to have a lot of live music. And so I wonder, you know, young people know how to do that kind of stuff. Okay, you find out. So now I'm going to ask you to stand again, because last week I had a request for something that was a tradition before COVID, and that was to sing a song that was made for a camp called Chalice Camp. And if you want a way to explain Unitarian Universalism in language that I think everyone could understand, this is how to do it. So those of you who are here for the first time, believe me, you'll be able to catch on real fast. So I'm going to say, it's a blessing you were born And you say, it's a blessing I was born. Oh, I should have tuned. Well, let's just. Oh, I can't stand it. No, it's. It's the dissonance. My strings are disagreeing with each other. Oh, well, let's just do it. It's a blessing you were born, and it matters what you do, what you know about God is a piece of the truth. Let the beauty you love be what you do, and you don't have to do it alone. It's a blessing we were born, and it matters what we do, what we know about God is a piece of the truth. Let the beauty we love be what we do, and we don't have to do it alone. And we don't have to do it alone. We don't have to do it alone. And we don't have to do it alone. Cha, cha, cha. So thank you, Chris, for coming, and thank you, everyone. Starting next week, we may even be able to start having coffee hour together in our social hall. And so for now, I guess just mingle here. It's not too cold out there, but stay tuned, and hopefully next week we'll have snacks and coffee, because the deal is if the positivity rate for 2 weeks is down under 5%, masks will be optional, food and drink will be allowed. So let's just keep hoping the positivity rate stays low. So go now in peace, and thank you all for coming. Thank you, Chris.